Hey, Kevin, can we just test your sound?
Test.
That worked great. Thank you. There we go. Okay, we are live on Facebook now. Or on YouTube, sorry, not Facebook.
Okay, let's get started. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Warman regular meeting of council for Monday, April 13th, 2020. Do we have a motion for the agenda? Gary? Councillor Philipchuck?
I'd like to make the motion to approve the agenda for Monday, April 13th, 2020, regular meeting of council as presented.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Beck? Any additions, or I should ask? Okay, all in favor? I can't see your hand there, Trevor. Trevor? Councillor Peterson? Okay. We'll move down to approval of the minutes. Motion, please. Councillor Beck?
Sorry about that. It just took me a moment to get the mute button off. So I'd like to make the motion for council to adopt the minutes from the March 16th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting and the March 23rd, 2020 regular meeting of council as presented.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Tooley? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, I would like to ask council members to make sure that you have your video on so I can see you. Yep, I can see everyone now. And we're going to move down to administration report, starting with Manager Smith. Bob, are you on?
I am, I believe. So my report doesn't have anything new that needs a resolution of council, but I'll just give a quick review of what's kind of happened over the last short while. Past 3 weeks since our last regular meeting of council. It's been busy with dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. The first weeks were the development of the initial 2-week staffing plans as our facilities were closing and working to determine the longer range plan for the staff deployment. We've also been very busy over the past 3 weeks implementing different ways to provide services to our residents, with the facilities and in specific City Hall being closed to the public. Has been a challenge to adjust processes and procedures in a short period of time, especially with the processes have been in place for many, many years and become a routine for most of the public. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the city implemented phase 2 of our staffing plans that came into effect on April 6th. We have sent layoff notices to 2 casual positions, 12 part-time employees, 11 full-time employees, which accounted for about 18% of the overall staff. And we've also had many staff working from home where we can. which in City Hall alone represents about 75% of the employees, with most managers performing their function remotely. It was difficult news to deliver to our staff, but everyone seemed to understand that the layoffs are something that the city wouldn't be able to foresee or mitigate. So looking forward to the next couple of months, our plan is to freeze hiring of summer students until we're able to determine workloads as spring and summer work activity starts. We will be looking at redeployment, first our full-time staff, provided they are able and willing to perform their job function, and then bring back the part-time workers where we can. Also, we are planning that the sports fields will be closed until the end of June. We are contacting our sporting groups to give them that timeline so that they can make plans themselves. We appreciate that this is fluid and could change, but we need a planning date and idea of our sports fields maintenance and staffing, etc. We're essentially going to maintain our fields at a base level until the time when organized sports may begin, and then we'll ramp up the service level at that time. Also, the spray pads are on the same time frame. We cannot comment on the outdoor other areas until we have further information, but we will give that plan to council. So, in saying that, I want to again thank the residents of Warman for their understanding through the pandemic and for adhering to the mandates and the orders from the provincial government, and for doing all that they can do to protect their neighbors and friends. I also want to thank our dedicated staff for working through these tough times. I know it hasn't been easy, and it has been very stressful for all, and I wish to thank them for their continued dedication. That's my report, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Manager Smith? Seeing none, we'll move down to planning development. Oh, sorry, I see Councillor Shram.
Yes, this wasn't in your report, Bob, but I was wondering, will council be getting a report on receivables and expenses for the COVID-19 period so far, and forecast for the future?
We can certainly provide that for council. As of right now, we look at about the loss in revenue is probably going to be about $250,000, and we figure we'll be able to recoup approximately 50% of that with the reduction in staffing and also some of the service levels that we'll be performing within the city, and of course in sports fields, etc. So our anticipation right now is that we'd be about a loss of $125,000, but we can provide a report for council for the next committee of the whole.
That would be appreciative for me. I don't know how the others feel. Will there also be a forecast for the net? Is that just for the month of March, April? And will there be a forecast for April, May? That's
to the end of June,
okay.
What I just provided. So that's basically where we lost our revenue, was in the latter part of March and April, and there's going to be some loss in regards to the sports fields, etc., as well as rental of our facilities and things of that nature. But we'll provide you a report to the end of June, and then we can look at estimating out from there, although that's tough to predict at this time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manager Smith. Okay, Planning Manager Toth.
Thank you, Mayor Spence, members of council. One item for discussion tonight. An application has been received for a retail store at Unit 6, 1211 Boucher Avenue. The use will sell kitchen equipment and kitchen utensils for both residential and commercial kitchens. Retail uses are considered a discretionary use in the M1 district. Parking has been a point of discussion on a couple of applications here. This particular use requires 2 stalls under the Warman zoning bylaw. Typically, retail uses, especially for this size of unit, are based on only the area that is used for the retail sales portion and are typically kind of the lowest in, or typically the lowest in our zoning bylaw in terms of requirements. We did advertise the use for 1 consecutive week in the local paper. Notice was sent to property owners living within 100 meters of the proposed site, and no concerns or questions have been received. In addition, the owner or the developer of the property has secured some excess parking on an adjacent site for those peak period times, although due to the mix of uses, we're not expecting that to be a huge deterrent or issue moving forward. I've included copies of the letters and notice that were sent out to property owners, and the recommendation tonight is that council move forward with approval of the use for Unit 6, 1211 Boucher Avenue.
Okay, so we have a motion in front of us. Who is prepared to make that? Councillor Philipchuck?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the discretionary use for retail store DTH Kitchen Wares at Unit 6, 1211 Boucher Avenue.
Seconder, Councillor Beck? Okay, thank you. And is there questions? Councillor Beck?
Yeah, this year I do have a question, certainly regarding parking. This year, it does certainly indicate that 1.5 stalls is all that's that's required usage. I'm just wondering, for the entire complex, is there enough wheelchair access parking? And I just wanted to make sure that that's going to be adequate for the entire site.
Yes, so accessibility access for parking is also a requirement under our building code. So for us to close off building permits, there will have to be the required amount of accessible parking in the site. And that's for every unit if, say, they were all maxed out in terms of disability parking. So the first and foremost, we've already identified disability stalls for what's been developed. But with each additional unit being developed, they're required to provide that additional space for the disability stall. So yes, it will be covered under building code.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Show of hands. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to file administration reports? Councillor Tooley, seconder. Councillor Peterson, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to council reports and we'll do council roundtable, and we're going to start with Councillor Peterson.
Well, there's not too much to report on my end, but on a personal note, we did make an effort as to get together without getting together for Easter. We all cooked individual meals and kind of did a front step pass to eat, and we got to participate in an Easter meal together. But though it was kind of disheartening to see a lot of Alberta plates, visiting people around here, and see a lot of people having family over for Easter supper.
I know that's difficult, but all we can do is be the role models that we are and follow the directives of the province, and that's about all we can do. So thank you. Councillor Shram.
Sorry, I was not on mute. I do have a few things, and beg my indulgence if I missed it at the beginning of the meeting. But in the minutes, it talks about that we would further discussion on Route 11. Is there a timetable for that?
City Manager Smith, are we thinking the committee of the whole?
There was no time set by council on what we're looking at for when it'd be brought back to council. And I guess we haven't put it as a priority as a result of them being closed right now as well. So, but we certainly can get something to the committee of the whole report if that's what council so wishes, but it wasn't something that was on our radar for next week.
Does that put in jeopardy the agreement that we have with them currently? Where do we stand with that as far as their timetable for renting the facility and all of that?
Well, I believe that I'd have to go back to the report, but I believe the contract actually ended at some point in time last year, but it carries on from year to year unless it's renegotiated.
Okay.
So right now they would be continuing on with the existing contract.
Okay. And is there a form that, I guess with all of our rentals, is it business as usual? Are we receiving monies from those rentals at this point?
It's business as usual, but I know Paul has been reaching out to the existing contracts that he has. And so far, I don't think anybody's gotten back to him in regards to whether they want to renegotiate or look at some other terms. So right now it's just business as usual.
Okay. Second thing, it says in the minutes, contingency plan for the Board of Revision. Did they decide on doing Zoom meetings? Will they be doing Zoom meetings? How is that? It wasn't stated in the minutes.
I'll check into that, but I believe that right now they're going to be doing conference calls, is my understanding. The province has made that eligible, I guess, to be able to do them through conference calls. So I believe that's the direction they're going, but I don't know if that has been put into firm documentation as of yet. But that's the route they were going to go.
Okay, I was just trying to clear up things that were in the minutes that just solutions for. The third thing was the economic development city missions and policy options report on how to facilitate. I think it's in the March's committee of the whole, and I'm not. He said that there would be an email. I think that was the 18th. I've not received an email, so I'm not sure where that is.
I'll have to look to see what exactly you were looking for on that. Was committee of the whole?
In the committee of the whole report, the economic development was looking at the city's missions and policy options report on how to facilitate our economic development. So I think going back to the minutes would probably, you'd understand my question, I guess, but I haven't received an email. It said that there would be an email in response to that, so I haven't received that. So I was just wondering where that was at.
Okay, I see Councillor Tooley's hand up. So maybe it's is it in regard to COVID, the task force report? Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
That may be the case, City Manager Smith. What I believe that's in regards to, and I don't have the minutes directly in front of me, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to speak to them, accurately at this point. But I believe that was an email that was going to be distributed out by the City of Warman or through the Chamber of Commerce, just looking for some of the challenges being faced by the business community in regards to the pandemic and some of their planning and some of the answering of some of the questions that they may have.
Is that what you were looking for, Kendall? Or is this something different?
Well, I mean, if I'll pull it up from the minutes, and maybe it's just to clear clarity issue. It just says in the minutes, a review was given of the EEDO. Center of Excellence was discussed. Council asked administration to review the city's missions and policies for economic development. Are there opportunities that directly align with the mission statement? Council requested a report on how to facilitate the options. Are the options city built or developer built? How do the options fit into the city's budget? Administration will follow up with council through email.
Okay,
So that's just, I'm just asking the question for the, has the follow-up been given?
you
So-
said that was March 18th?
That was
I'm-
March. That was in the committee of the whole March 18th, yes.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking that since March 18th,
March 16th, I guess.
our priorities have changed drastically, and likely it's probably maybe still sitting on someone's desk.
Okay.
Am I right with that, Manager Smith?
Yeah, I was just trying to look at, so Josh had provided an email on the 5th of March. And that was probably where the follow-up came from. So I will check with Josh to see if he's going to be sending another email out in regards to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Last but not least, I thought since the question was asked through our texting back and forth about the food bank, that I would give a report with that. And we have seen an increase for since COVID. The giving, those that have used the food bank, the amount that's been given to the food bank prior to COVID was about $3,040. The amount given during since COVID started was 1,100. There has been a usage. In the process, there has also been at presently our bank account is at $18,000 and change, and we've also seen some substantial donations given by two of the churches, Awakening and St. John's Lutheran, as well as our Warman firefighters have given a substantial amount to the food bank. And we've seen a number of smaller, but just as important donations from the community. And so we do have, a substantial amount now. We are not, we kind of still processing what we can do, but as a food bank, we're not a registered charity. So we don't fit into some of the things that the federal government has for us, but I think we're in pretty good shape to help people. I can get a very clear picture on paper, and I could probably submit that at our next meeting.
Councillor Jones? Muted.
Okay. Good evening. I attended a virtual Legends board meeting about a week ago, where we, where the operations, of the golf course going forward, and obviously the fact that, weather aside, they wouldn't be able to open yet, and financial implications of that. So I think some good decisions were made around the work that they are going to do to maintain the course, and balancing that with the financial restrictions of not having, an income. Jared, the president, sent out a letter to the membership, really setting out what the plan was for the year, letting people know that the board, the spring AGM was being back indefinitely from April 21st. And with that, really a request from the membership that if they have a deposit on file, that they leave it on file. And really asking for people who can afford the membership to, also advance those funds as well. Some discussion around, what happens if the entire season gets canceled. And I think those are decisions that will have to be made when we get to those points. But obviously, if there's no golf, there's no, there's going to have to be refunds to people's money on the membership side. So overall, I would say that both board and management are doing a really good job of balancing, maintaining the course if the snow ever comes off it with, being ready for a golf season if it should open, and keeping their eye to how they might do that, and really using Saskatchewan Golf Association and the Saskatchewan Health Authority to guide their decisions in doing that. So overall, I thought a good meeting. They're also doing some, some things with their leases, with their big inputs. I'm looking to extend terms on those again, trying to balance payments out with when cash can be coming in. But pretty tough spot, of course, with a lot of businesses that are relying on a short season that is going to be late getting started, and hopefully does happen. And I think one, for council, they're not in rough shape now. They're able to continue operating, but I think it is one that we'll have to pay attention to as the season progresses and see how it plays out. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Brian. Councillor Tooley.
Just had to get my mute off. Overall, I don't have a ton to report. I just maybe give a bit of a higher level that I've still been attending the Chamber of Commerce Task Force meetings. We have a morning meeting every day at 10 o'clock, which is kind of an update and a planning session. And then typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock is a second call with the business community on that as well, where they're given an update. And there's been several times we've had a business speaker come in, or business speaker be part of the call, just to highlight some of the initiatives that they're doing right now to work through the pandemic. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to update.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, Councillor Beck.
Thank you, Mayor Spence. Yeah, so certainly over the past couple, over the last several weeks, there's been a few webinars here that I have attended. On the municipalities of Saskatchewan side, we had most of our meetings actually postponed to a later date. So with this year, we're just trying to get those scheduled here for the next couple of weeks. So I should have something to report, from SUMA or the municipalities of Saskatchewan board meetings and the subcommittees thereof. So I'll certainly be bringing that forward as soon as I can. I would like to recognize that it was a physician appreciation week, and our communications manager, Aaron Legg, had certainly created the message and sent that off to to our physicians, and we're going to look to try and reschedule those visits here later this year if certainly when possible. So that's all that I have at this time here for updates.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Councillor Philipchuck.
Okay, a few things. I also attended the municipal forum just online, again, just on my own. And it was nice seeing the chief medical officer taking open questions from a municipal vantage point. So having that level of guest and a few others along the way. Had an RCMP meeting this last week. Generally, what we're looking for is the goals and action plans for our next meeting. Saying that things are fairly quiet right now, so concerns as the weather warms up. From the school vantage point, schools have access to supplemental learning, just with the goal of video chats in some form. 95% of the people responded actually to their teachers and 85% are continuing at least one class at Warman High School. So that's pretty exciting that even though it's another completely different vantage point, education, whole different paradigm, 85% of the kids are staying engaged in some form. Usually math and science, it seems, right now. And the big thing I want to say is just what I've seen with some of the positive good news stories. And I credit all the people involved with these along the way, from Sarah McLean's front page of the Star Phoenix to the Bear Walk for Easter and Coralie being on Global News and being interviewed that way, to our Warman Fire Rescue going around for birthday parties. These are just great things to see. Warman at a level that's, Saskatoon news, we're getting on the media that way, and it's in a positive way. So really appreciate all the efforts of all the people that make those things happen, because they sure are noticed by our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Philipchuck. Okay, Youth Representative Janelle, are you on the line? Hi, how are you doing?
I have nothing else to add except for that I am working on something similar to what was posted on the social media earlier last week. So I plan to have that finished by tomorrow.
Well, thank you. You did a really good job on that first piece. We really appreciated that perspective from the youth. Thank you so much, Janelle.
Thank you.
Okay. And as for me, well, right after COVID, we started our COVID journey. We were having daily conference calls with many different organizations and partners. Those conference calls have now kind of changed to either 2 or 3 times a week. So we're meeting with the City Mayor's Caucus twice a week, ministry twice a week, 3 times a week with our managers. So those conference calls are definitely keeping me busy and also keeping me in the loop. We try to make sure that we're sitting in on the province's update every day so that we have a current idea of what's happening. Any questions that we have from the Mayor's Caucus, we're able to the ministry and have them addressed. So some of our concerns definitely have been discussed and looked into. Also, there's a lot of chatter with the city mayors about recovery. So that's been good to hear what other communities are doing. Warman seems to be doing much the same as what everybody else is doing. We're not doing anything that's unusual or different. So I guess in saying that, I wouldn't be concerned that we're spending too much time in one area and not in the other. We seem to be very much the same as everybody else. It's good having that forum though, to see if you are kind of in the right place, because this is all new to all of us. It's hard to know if some of the decisions that we're making and some of the moves we're making, if they're good or not. But seeing that other municipalities are kind of in the same boat, making the same decision, does give you a bit of comfort. Other than that, our meetings have slowed down, which is strange, but the time at home has given us some time to kind of unwind and think about what's happening in front of us and kind of put our priorities in front of us. I want to thank all of you for recognizing how important it was to stay home. Conducting our meetings this way definitely poses a challenge, but everyone has stepped up. I thank the administration for making this as seamless as possible. And other than that, I think that we'll just ask for motion to file Janelle's report. Councillor Peterson?
I'd like to make the motion to accept and file the Youth Council Representatives reports for April 13th, 2020 as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Tooley? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to correspondence. We have in front of us Municipalities of Saskatchewan letter. Do we have a motion for that, please? Councillor Beck?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that the following correspondence of the municipalities of Saskatchewan letter be received by council on Monday, April 13th, 2020, and is to be filed as presented.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shram, all in favor? Thank you. Other reports, we have the turbidity report. Do we have a motion, please? Councillor Jones,
As presented.
seconder? Do we have a second? Is everybody, Councillor Shram, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving down to city accounts for approval. Motion, please. Councillor Shram,
I move that council approve the city accounts as presented by checks numbered 22649 to 22787 for the amount of $845,828.09, and the payroll vouchers numbered 10500 to 10566 in the amount of $91,139.08 for April 13th, 2020. I so
do we
move.
have a seconder for that? Councillor Peterson, any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Jones,
Make the motion to adjourn the Monday, April 13th, 2020 regular meeting.
seconder? Councillor Tooley, all in favor? Thank you. That is a wrap.